Okay, this is Nancy Hamilton, and I am conducting a recorded interview. I'm face-to-face with Mr. Patrick Mahone at his home, which is located at 345 63rd Street in Oakland, California. The zip code here is 94618. Today's date is December the 1st, 2017, and the time is 12:23 p.m. And it's regarding an incident that occurred on 10/31/17, 2017, again at a trail in the Berkeley and/or Oakland areas. Mr. Mahone, do you understand that this interview is being recorded?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it being done so with your permission?
Yes.
Can you please state your full name and spell your name for me?
Patrick Michael Mahone. Patrick Michael Mahoney.
And can you provide your mailing address?
345 63rd Street, Oakland, California, 94618.
Thank you. And what is your telephone number?
415-999-5123.
Okay. And can you provide your social security number?
138785979.
And what is your date of birth?
November 6th, 1983.
And are you currently, what is your marital status?
I'm currently married.
Okay. And what is your spouse's name?
Ann Nelson.
Can you spell Ann for me?
ANNE.
Okay. And go ahead.
NELSON.
Sorry. And how long have you and Ann been married?
5 years, 4.9 years. So
Okay.
we were married on Christmas Eve 2012.
Thank you. And are you currently employed?
Yes, I'm a mental health counselor in San Francisco at Progress Foundation. It's residential treatment programs.
Okay. And is Progress Foundation based out of San Francisco?
Yes, it's a nonprofit.
Okay. And so your title is mental health counselor, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you recall where this incident occurred?
Yes, it occurred on the Claremont Canyon Trail in Berkeley, California, which is begins right across the road from Claremont Hotel, and it goes uphill directionally, probably to the north.
So you said it goes uphill.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe that uphill? Is it a minor, moderate, or sort of very steep uphill slope?
It's sort of a range. It begins very steeply, and then it kind of becomes more moderate, and then it gets more steep again.
Okay. And can you describe what the weather was like that day?
It was a warmer day. It was probably upper 70s. I remember it had been cool in the morning, so I was wearing probably too many layers.
Okay.
And by the time I got to the trail, I was kind of regretting that and actually left a sweatshirt in Elisa's car.
Okay. And thinking back to that day and the trail, specifically the path or the ground, how would you describe the ground on that trail?
The ground it's a dirt ground, but it's very stable and easy enough to get a good footing on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit more rough on patches and can have like scattered rocks or roots, but generally, if you're paying attention, it's very manageable.
Okay. So this is an established trail, then?
Yes.
Okay. And on that trail, are there any signs posted that you can recall, specifically any signs indicating that your pets must be kept on a leash?
Not that I can recall.
Have you witnessed other people in the area walking or hiking in the area with pets on or specifically off a leash?
Yes, I've witnessed both.
Okay. All right. And then my understanding is that this incident happened on 10/31/17. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And approximately what time did you arrive at the trail?
I would say roughly 10:15 a.m.
Okay. And what was the purpose of you being on the trail on that specific day?
I was going to take my dog Osa for a hike, for exercise, and I myself enjoy a nice hike in the hills.
Okay. Had you been on this trail in the past?
Yes, we frequently hike there.
Okay. And by frequently, how frequently are you on this trail?
I would say probably 2 to 3 times a month.
Okay. And is it frequently with Osa as well?
Yeah, it's always with Osa.
Okay. And Osa, you're describing your pet dog. What type of dog is Osa?
She is a golden doodle. So half golden retriever, half poodle.
Okay. And Osa, is that, how do you spell that?
Osa.
Okay. And how old is Osa?
Osa is 5 years old.
And how did you come to obtain Osa?
We purchased Osa in 2012.
How old was Osa at the time?
She was 6 weeks old.
Okay. And has Osa had any formal training?
Yes, she had gone to training at Happy Hounds. I can't give you the exact date, but I'd say
That's
about
okay.
2.5, 3 years ago.
Was it standard obedience training?
Yeah, standard obedience training.
And does Osa follow commands?
Yes.
What types of commands?
Basic, sit, stay. She doesn't like to roll over, but she knows that's what it is. She'll generally come to you, but again, if she, in this instance we're speaking about, if she's engaged with another dog, she can lose attention and be less obedient.
Does Osa ever go to dog parks?
Yes, she frequently goes to dog parks 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. And describe Osa's general demeanor to me.
Osa's a very pleasant dog and social, even though she is 5. Particularly at a dog park or off leash on a trail, she can be very playful, and I've been told almost like a puppy. And generally gets along with people. Can sometimes be a bit high energy when someone arrives in the house and she doesn't know them. But after a few moments, she'll calm down and be more laid back and resigned. And she's very gentle and not at all aggressive, particularly about anything. And I've had dogs in the past or a dog who is a lot more aggressive about food, but Osa, she'll try to get food, but just an example, like if she got a chicken bone once on the road, in a particular example, I was able to stop and have her sit down and literally pull it out of her mouth without any fear, and she did not try to bite or anything. And I don't mean to glorify her, but...
And then how much would you approximate that Osa weighs?
She's consistently, I don't want to be too particular, but weighed 63 pounds.
Okay. And describe Osa for me, if you could.
Osa is, she's a moderately sized dog. I've heard kids on the street say, oh, she's big.
Is she a standard size for her
standard
type of
size
dog?
for her type of dog. There are miniature golden doodles, roughly 40 pounds, and she's, I suppose, on the larger side. One of our neighbors on 62nd Street has a dog about the same breed, about exactly her size, and her weight might alter slightly, and her shape might alter slightly. If her hair is cut, she looks more like a poodle, but as the hair grows out, she looks more like a retriever.
What color is her hair?
Her hair is kind of a light gold.
Okay, thank you. And do you know approximately when she stands next to you, approximately how high she stands?
Pretty much, her back is up to my knee. Her head is a little higher, her tail.
Would you say 1.5 feet?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Okay. Or 2 feet? Okay. And so, so now I know what Osa is like and what she looks like, and that you were on the trail that day. Were you meeting anyone on the trail?
No, I was just taking Osa for a hike.
Okay.
And
Okay.
when I arrived, I saw Lisa and her friend Jenny.
Okay.
By chance.
All right. So, just kind of take me back to that day. I know that the trail is dry. It can be a little bit challenging to navigate in some spots due to rocks and roots and that sort of thing. And then I also know that it can be slightly hilly, going upwards. And so you arrive at the trail with Osa. Was Osa wearing a leash?
Yes.
Okay. And so you're at the bottom of the trail, and then just kind of walk me through what happened.
So I took the leash off her, and Elisa and Jenny went ahead, and I left Osa with them, and I went down to put my sweatshirt in Elisa's car. And when I did that, I walked back up to the trail. She had been parked down on Claremont Avenue. I believe that's the name of the road, but the road that goes up from around the Claremont Hotel up towards Tilden Park.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the sweatshirt in the car and walked back up to the trail, and Osa, who I left with Elisa and Jenny, actually ended up waiting for me, so she was sitting waiting.
Where was she waiting? Are there any
on the
landmarks
trail
in the area?
Yeah, it's near the, probably, 50 feet up the trail.
Okay. And when you said that you left the dog, you left Osa with Jenny and with Elisa,
Mm-hmm.
Did Osa have her leash on at this time?
No.
Okay. So at some point, as you were walking up the trail, you took Osa's leash off, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're walking back up the trail. You're approximately about 50 feet up. And then you said that you coincidentally met up with Jenny and Elisa. How do you know Jenny and Elisa?
I know Elisa because she used to be the tenant of my wife Ann Nelson's aunt and uncle in Berkeley.
Okay.
And I ran into them at the beginning of the trail, so before we even got on the trail.
Okay. And had you been walking all together, or you just ran into them?
I ran into them, and I dropped my sweatshirt in her car, and then came back, met up with my dog again, and then we both walked and hiked and caught up with them.
Okay.
We weren't racing, but we just wanted to walk with them. So
okay. And then so you're walking back up the hill to meet them again. What happened?
So we meet up with them probably. Again, I don't know distance-wise, but it's probably at least a half an hour hike up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to break the hike into thirds.
Okay.
So I left them at the very beginning, and I caught up with them after about a third of the hike.
Okay.
And I hiked with them until the 2/3 mark where there's a bench.
Okay.
And I said, okay, I'm going to rest here because they wanted to keep hiking to that final third, which is another steep section.
Okay. And
I said, okay, well, I'm going to rest here, but maybe you two can take Osa because she could always use more exercise. But again, given that she had waited for me earlier, I didn't want her to do that again. I wanted her to go ahead with them. So I walked about, 25 feet forward, so she would start the hike with them. And that's when the incident occurred.
Okay. And you're saying so that she would take the hike with them, and so you're indicating so that Osa would go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at this point, Osa is still off leash, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you said the incident occurred. What did you see that occurred?
As I was, walking her up to follow them, they were, 10 or 15 feet ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw another dog about Osa's size, with short hair. I'm not sure the breed.
What color hair was it?
Kind of a dark brown.
Okay.
And as well as there was a woman walking her, which I believe was her owner.
Okay.
And she was coming down on one side of her. And this dog was laying down, kind of as dogs often do when they want to play.
Okay. So it was like a playful lay down?
Yeah, a playful lay down. And that's generally, I don't know, like a tip off, like, okay, this is going to be like a play session.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you said that you saw the other woman walking down. Can you describe the other woman?
I cannot exactly recall, but she looked like she had been hiking.
Okay. Can you describe approximately how old you think she is? Was she in her 20s, 30s,
I'd say in
40s?
her 40s.
Okay. Can you recall what color hair she had?
It was darker hair, maybe in a ponytail.
Okay. So she was walking with her dog. Was her dog on or off leash?
Her dog was off leash.
Okay. And so you saw her coming down the hill, so opposite direction as you were going. So my understanding at this point is that Jenny and Elisa have control of Osa off leash. You are walking about 10 to 15 feet behind them in the same direction, and that the other party is coming down the hill towards you folks on that same hiking trail with her dog off leash as well. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And so then what did you see?
And then the dogs began the play session, which entailed basically them interacting energetically, and they began to run together, kind of a playful chase, and very, I don't know, I can't give you a timeline, but
Sure.
10 or 15 seconds into their play session, they ran towards Elisa and Jenny, and they, I believe, I can't recall exactly, but they collided with Elisa on her leg.
Okay. Did you actually see the collision, or did you just become aware that there was a collision?
Yes, I saw the collision.
Okay. Do you know if both dogs collided with Elisa, or one dog or the other?
I cannot be certain. I don't recall exactly.
Okay.
I mean, given that Osa was my dog, I was hyper conscious of that. But I believe, given that they were playing together, they were both moving in the same direction.
Okay. And you said, so they collided with her. Were they running at the time, or were they sort of or were they engaged in play, kind of in one place?
They were running.
Okay. Would you describe the speed of their run as a slow, as a moderate, or fast sort of run?
Difficult to particularize, but I'd say moderately fast.
Okay.
It wasn't an all-out run, given it was a hill, but they were going downhill, so that only increases the speed.
At the time just before you saw that collision of the dogs with Miss Elisa, what was Miss Elisa, Jenny, and Jenny doing?
I believe they were sort of watching the interaction.
Okay. Did you see any interaction between Jenny and Elisa and the other woman, the owner of the other dog?
I didn't notice anything in particular, maybe like a wave or a brief hello. Just an acknowledgement that they knew her, or that I think Jenny knew her more than Elisa.
Okay. And so you said that you saw a collision. What happened immediately? Sorry, take a step back. You said you saw a collision. What type of collision was it?
It was basically just a direct. It was like the dogs ran into Elisa's leg, into her side, and she fell over.
Do you know which leg?
I believe her left leg.
Okay. And so you said she fell over. Did she fall to the ground?
Yes.
Okay. Did she fall to either side? Did she fall directly back? Did she fall forward?
I think she fell to her side, as I recall, but she was able to catch herself.
Okay. Was it her right or left side?
That she fell to? I don't recall exactly. I should know the leg even.
It's all right.
I think it was the left leg.
Okay. And then immediately after that, what happened?
she was in a lot of pain. And, Jenny and I both were concerned, and we helped lift her up. And subsequently, that bench that was at the 2/3 mark of the hike, we both thought, okay, that would be a good place to, for her to catch her breath and assess any injury.
Okay.
So we helped her hike down to that, and we had her sit down on the bench, and then we, talked it over and helped her try to judge what kind of injury.
What did she say to you at that time? Did she say anything?
I don't remember exactly. Just she maybe spoke about the pain or.
So she may
surprise.
have indicated that she was in some type of pain?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. And then did she indicate to you perhaps why she fell? Or did she mention why she fell?
No. Again, for the whole thing, I'm not sure if she stated she was in pain or why she was in pain. I think it was just sort of very obvious that it didn't have to be stated.
Okay.
And there was kind of an instant understanding of that.
Okay. Did you see any obvious signs of the injury? Was there any bleeding? Was there any scrapes?
There was no bleeding or scrapes. I couldn't help but witness the difficulty she had putting pressure on the leg.
Okay. And by pressure you mean standing directly
on it? Yeah, standing on it or being mobile with it.
Was she limping?
Yes, she was limping.
Okay. And so she's resting there, and she's with both you and Jenny. And where, at this point, is the other woman?
The other woman is kind of right to the side, maybe a little bit ahead of us.
Okay. Did she say anything?
Yes, she was apologetic and sympathetic, it seemed, and, friendly, obviously, felt bad about the incident.
Okay. At this point, I know the dogs must still be around. Are they still on leash or off leash?
They were off the leash initially, obviously, when it happened, but then I made a point to put Osa on the leash. Okay. Or I held onto her collar at least.
Okay. So you took control of Osa?
Yes, took control of Osa at that point.
Okay. And did the other party, the other woman, take control of her dog as well?
Yes.
And do you know how she did that? Did she do that by verbal or leash?
Yeah, I think leash as well.
Okay. All right. And then after Elisa, yourself and Jenny, and the other woman was nearby, sitting at that bench, how long would you approximate that you were there for?
No more than 10 minutes.
Okay. And then what happened?
Between 5 and 10 minutes.
What happened after that?
Well, it's kind of an isolated trail. You cannot really drive on that trail, so there wasn't much choice for getting any assistance that would have been necessary. Mm-hmm. So we rationalized that we could help her hike downhill to get towards the base. Because there is a cutout about halfway down that trail that takes you onto back roads that are less steep.
Okay. And so, did you guys go to that cutout, or did you guys go to the base of the hill, where you started?
Yeah, we went to the cutout.
Okay. And then when you went to the cutout, what happened after that?
Well, I should go back. Basically, I started helping her. Jenny and I started helping her, make her way down. We were holding on to her, helping her get along. Mm-hmm. And we were both trying to call Kaiser Permanente, her insurance company, and the hospital that she would eventually go to contact and inquire about medical care.
Okay. So
on that hike down, besides the pain, we were trying to negotiate or arrange for medical care treatment.
Okay.
And when that had been settled, after about 10 or 15 minutes, it was settled. Elisa was still in pain, and Jenny said she could continue helping her, and I said, well, I'll go and get Elisa's car and drive it up up to the base of that cutout on that trail. So I ran ahead with her keys.
So then you came back to that cutout and met Jenny and Elisa, and you met them in Elisa's vehicle, and then what happened?
Well, it's not that simple, unfortunately. I went down to get Lisa's car, and she's a manual, and I grew up driving a manual car, but I think it's a maroon, I believe it's Toyota, but it has, and she had explained to me the challenge, and I had driven it before, but she had explained to me the challenge of the reverse, putting the car in reverse, so I had difficulty doing that when I got down to the car. So then I decided it's not worth it to, be unsuccessful with this. So I locked the car, and I believe I had brought Osa, and I left Osa in the car and went back up the hill and met them. And they had, by that point, reached that cutout onto the roads. And I explained the car thing, the issue with her car. But there was an EB mud, like the East Bay Municipal Crew Utility, and they wanted the drivers. We asked the driver, and he drove her down to her car. And from there, I had her, and she explained how the gears worked, and I was able to drive. And then I drove Elisa to the hospital in Kaiser Permanente in Oakland.
Okay. So at this point, you said you drove her, but is Jenny and Osa still with you?
Osa is with me, but Jenny went in her own car.
Okay. So she left.
She left them, and she, gave her best regards to Lisa and said that they'll be in contact.
Okay. So which Kaiser facility did you take her to?
Kaiser in Oakland. Okay. I don't know the address, but you go down Broadway, and it's, probably about, I'll say, 2 to 3 miles from where the accident occurred.
Okay. And then when you got there, did you wait for Jenny? Did you just drop her off?
Elisa,
sorry.
I dropped her off. They had given her an address to go to. And I believe she inquired where I dropped her off, that she needed assistance, and they provided assistance for her. And in the meantime, while they treated her, I drove around the neighborhood, and obviously it was going to take time, but I figured, I didn't know it would be, I've learned what the damage was, and I didn't realize it would be that severe. Didn't realize it would be a fracture. I was thinking it would be more, muscle or tendon, so I didn't quite, I wasn't aware of the damage that would be done. So I thought it would just be a standard assessment, and basically they would give her that, and she would be given the necessary attention, and then given advice for how to recover. So I waited for an hour in the neighborhood. I was in touch with her on the phone and texts, and she communicated that it was going to take longer, so I eventually parked right by where I had dropped her off, and sat out on a bench, and I had my dog with me that whole time. And given it was Halloween, there was, many medical employees in costume and such.
Okay.
On a side note, not relevant.
Right. And did you drive Elisa from the hospital somewhere after?
Yes, I drove her back to her residence.
Okay. And that's in Oakland, correct?
Yes, it's in Piedmont, which I guess you could debate is Oakland or not.
So when you drove her home, as you're driving home, did you have any conversations about how the incident happened?
Only on the surface. We didn't go into details about, anything beyond that she had been struck by the dog.
Did she indicate any blame towards the dogs regarding the incident?
No, she just expressed frustration. And, Osa was with me at the time. And obviously, dogs don't seem to feel remorse. But, yeah, she didn't... She expressed general frustration, but didn't express any particular negative feeling directly towards the dog.
Did she express any negative feelings or frustration with you, particularly?
No. She was just frustrated with the pain and the challenge of the whole situation.
Did she say that they diagnosed her with anything while she was under the care of doctors at Kaiser?
I don't remember specifically. I think they just said it was, just damage. Probably, I can't, again, I'm applying my own assumptions to it, but it was just damage to the tendons or ligaments. But I believe they didn't even x-ray her.
Okay. All right. And so you drove her home, and then did she need assistance with getting into her home?
Yes, because her apartment is in a house with a fairly steep set of stairs, so I helped her get up the stairs. She had a pair of crutches, so I helped her get into the house and climb into it.
Okay.
And her roommate was out of town, so I kind of helped her get comfortable when she was inside.
Okay. And you said that you have known Elisa through sort of your wife and her family owning a rental that she once used to rent.
Yes.
How long would you say that you have known Elisa? And when I say Elisa, I'm indicating the other party, which is Elisa Bongfeld.
Right. Well, my wife Ann and I lived in San Francisco from 2007 to 2010, and I believe we knew Elisa at that time, because we ourselves had also not been renting, but we'd been staying with her aunt and uncle for a period of time when we first moved here. So we knew her and became friends with her. We did move back east for several years until from 2010 to 2014. And then since we moved back here in 2014 to Oakland, we've spent time as friends with Elisa. So, again, 2 periods of 3 or 4 years.
Right. And so when you say that you have known her and you're indicating that you've been friends, what types of activities or instances do you get together with Elisa Bongfeld for? Do you share holidays together? Do you meet for coffee? That's the sort of thing
Yeah, mostly for coffee. We do these hikes fairly often.
Okay.
I'm just thinking we oftentimes meet for First Friday gatherings, particularly in Temescal, I recall.
Mm-hmm.
There's like an alleyway back there that has food and drink and kind of just standard socializing.
Okay. So she's a very social friend.
Yes.
Okay. And then approximately how often do you see Elisa Bongfeld?
I would say 2 to 3 times a month.
Okay. All right. And thinking back to the day of the incident and now that Elisa is home and you've helped her get into her rental home, have you seen Elisa since the day of the incident?
Yes. I got her to get into, I helped her get into her house, and then I called and followed up with her to see how she was feeling. I believe the day afterwards, I might have, one of the days in the next week, I think was the very next day, I brought her dinner, which was pho, which I bought on Broadway in Oakland, and I dropped it off to her, and it kind of helped, assess how she was feeling, and then I spoke with her on the phone several times, and then I believe the following Sunday, I can't tell you what day Halloween was, but I'm sure the calendars know. The following Sunday, I brought my son, and we went to her house midday or mid-morning, and we dropped off the Sunday New York Times.
And has she made any indications to you of any new issues with her injury or any new diagnosis?
Yeah, she explained that I believe 5 or 6 days after that incident, she went to a physical therapy appointment, and the PT had told her, yeah, this seems more like a break. And they did a subsequent x-ray, and explained that it looked like a fractured tibia.
Okay. Since then, has Ms. Lisa Bongfeld confirmed to you that she has a fracture, specifically of her left leg?
Yes, again, I'm not 100% sure of which leg, but she did tell me she had a fracture, and there were other issues, potentially, I can't say exactly, ligaments or tendons, and that she did explain that she needed to have surgery, and that she was having surgery, and that she had surgery. I spoke with her after that, and we spoke about, her recovery and her timeline for that.
So, what is your understanding of what her injury is?
Well, it's fractured tibia, upper exterior tibia. Again, I believe it's the left. And, it's a sensitive area where there's many ligaments there, so also trying to address any complications with those.
Okay. And then during the periods that you have had contact with her, since the day of the incident to today's date, how many times would you say you've had contact with her? And
I've gone to see her at least twice.
Okay.
And I spoke with her on the phone 3 or 4 times. And I've spoken with my wife, who's also gone to see her or spoken with her, so I know that doesn't count, but...
Okay, it's all right. And then have you texted at all with her?
Yeah, several texts. Okay. Just checking in and following up. And
has she indicated to you at any time that she plans on seeking additional treatment or may have additional surgery at all?
And she just explained that one surgery, and then the standard, I don't want to say standard, but, the understandable follow-up treatment and physical therapy and other such care.
During any of these subsequent contacts with her, either face-to-face, over the phone, or via text message, or through your wife, has she made any indications that she feels that someone or something is responsible for the incident?
No, she did not ever speak, make accusations or anything. Seemed to just identify it as an incident, involving dogs who were moving and acting without intention.
Okay. And then what do you feel caused the incident?
I believe it was just, also somewhat of a chance incident where the dogs were playing and are not aware of their size or their speed, or, how humans are more sensitive and they're not quite as nimble or quite aware, don't move like other dogs, and they had run into Elisa without intention.
Okay. And then going back to Osa, is Osa current on her vaccinations?
Yes.
Okay. And who does she typically see for veterinary care?
She goes to Broadway Veterinarians on Broadway Street in Oakland.
Okay. And is Osa currently registered?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thinking back to the day of the incident, at some point did you ever gather or obtain the name of the other party, the owner of the other dog, or know the other dog's name?
I believe Jenny had told me the other owner's name. Since then I've been reminded that her name was Nora.
Okay.
And again, I did learn the name of the other dog that day. I can't remember. I want to say Axel.
Okay.
But that's just it.
Have you been contacted by either Jenny or the other party, Nora, regarding the incident since the day of the incident?
No.
Okay. Is there anything additional that you would like to add about this incident?
No.
Okay. And
I may have contacted Jenny. I'm recalling.
Okay. So you may have called Jenny?
I believe I texted her.
Okay.
Just about the car and, the car dynamic, and how I had driven her and how I had driven Elisa.
Oh, got it. Did you know Jenny before the incident or just Elisa?
I had met Jenny once, but I did never spend much time with her.
Okay.
I would call her an acquaintance, not a friend.
Okay. And have you understood all the questions I've asked of you today?
Yes.
Is the information you've provided today truthful and to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. And did you understand that this conversation was recorded?
Yes.
And was it done so with your permission?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I will now turn off the recorder.